This is a brilliant time of year to put up a nest box in your garden, and it really doesn't matter how big or small your garden is. You will have room somewhere to offer your garden birds a place to raise a family. You can put them up on a wall, you can put them up on a garden fence, and if you haven't got a tree, of course, that's a good place to put up a nest box too. What sort of nest box should you be looking for? Well, perhaps the most common are the hole nesters, the hole cavity nesters. This is one that we developed specifically to try and deter predators like cats from reaching down inside the box into the young family beneath, and that's because it has this slightly deeper drop between the hole and the bottom of the box. But otherwise it's a relatively conventional hole nesting box made out of really strong, solid, sustainably sourced wood, as opposed to something skinny. It's not going to change temperature, it's not going to suffer from bad weather. We've also recently developed this style of cavity nest box, which we call the curve, and for obvious reasons it's got this, I think, rather aesthetically pleasant curved front, but it's not just there for show. It's got a curved slotted hole, and that's to more closely mimic the sort of cavity you find in a tree, a natural tree cavity, and birds really seem to love this and take to it. Blue tits, great tits and other species. And then there are other species that you might want to try and attract to the garden, and our favourite bird in Britain, well, I know there have been straw polls, but hey, robins, they're right up there on the list, aren't they, near number one. Robins aren't going to use a box like this. They don't use hole nesting, but we developed this style of nest box, if you can call it a box, specifically for robins. This is the Brushwood robin nester. There's a whole separate film on the channel which you can click on and find out all about this box specifically, but as you can see, it's an open front, and there's a deep dark recess for the robins to build their nest down inside here. So where should you put a nest box up? Well, as I mentioned, you can put them up just about anywhere, but if you do have a tree, great. Should you be thinking about which way they face? Well, yes, you should, because if they're really exposed to direct sunlight, they can overheat, and that can cause problems for the young family inside. So ideally facing north, northeast, that would be perfect for a cavity nest box like this. If you've got a shady spot, it really doesn't matter which way it's facing, so long as they don't get direct sunlight for a prolonged period, especially in the afternoon. Blue tits, great tits and species like that tend to get on with nesting from the end of March through April and early May, so you've got to think about where the sun's going to be in that period of time. How high? Well, honestly, I have found blue tit and great tit nests literally at my shoulder height before now. So you could put a nest box up there and it would be fine. Some species like coal tit and marsh tit possibly and positively prefer to go down low. They'll even use a nest box which is really a metre off the ground, something like that, but they tend to not occur right in the middle of cities or suburbs. Coal tits can. Hopefully coal tits are going to be using these curved nest boxes because it will be attractive to them. Anyway, point is this: they're okay, but then it's going to be constantly disturbed by people, so I tend to put my nest boxes up at least a couple of metres, just over a couple of metres. That's ideal. You're going to need a step ladder to pop it up there, facing north northeast if you can, and get it up early in the season if you can. I mean, February, March is a good time to put up a nest box, but there isn't a time when you shouldn't put one up, because as well as using boxes to raise a family, many birds, blue tits, great tits and others, use nest boxes as places to roost. So right through the winter they prove to be a positive asset. At the end of the season, around September time, usually August, September, it's a good idea to clean the nest box out, because that reduces the number of parasites that can live inside the box for the birds either through the winter or the following season. With the curve, we've designed a very simple access point on the side, so it's easy to get into. You can take out the old nest material, discard it and close it up. And if you happen to be working on a survey of what's in nest boxes, the reason we've made this door halfway up is so that you don't disturb any of the nest or nest material at the bottom of the box. Very simple, hopefully very effective. It's made out of strong, very durable, real timber that can withstand the weather. It's also got this little canopy over the top that prevents the worst of the rain getting in, but when you are putting the nest box up on a wall or a tree, it would be at the very least it wants to be vertical. You don't want it leaning back like this if you can avoid it, because obviously you don't want driving rain going straight into the hole. Ideally a slight lean forward, that's absolutely perfect, but all of our nest boxes have drain holes at the bottom. They're not going to fill up with water. So all it remains to do is get some nest boxes, get them up.